about the topic, that is acid-base balance. In my just one class I have taken the preliminary information regarding hydrogen ion concentration, regarding pH, regarding strong acid, strong base, I have described. Most probably I have also described buffers and the definition of the buffers. Buffers are the substances which, when present in solution, resist changes in pH. Buffers resist the changes in pH, and there are many buffers present in our body. There are 4 important buffers I have mentioned. 4 important buffers in our body I have mentioned, which plays an important role to maintain acid-base balance. What are those 4 important buffers? Of these 4, the most important being the bicarbonate buffers. Number 1, most important being bicarbonate. Next being phosphate. Third one is the hemoglobin. And the fourth being the protein. And you know, for every buffer there are 2 pairs. In bicarbonate buffers, the pairs is the bicarbonate and carbonic acid. Buffers are composed of either weak acid or weak base and its salt. And most important being I have mentioned is the bicarbonate buffer. What is the component of the bicarbonate buffer? It is the bicarbonate buffer is present mainly in the extracellular fluid. So, it is the chief extracellular buffer. Chief intracellular buffer is the phosphate buffer. Hemoglobin buffer is the principal buffer of the RBC. And the protein buffer also present mainly in the cell, that is intracellular buffer. So, only the extracellular buffer is the which maintains acid-base balance in our blood, which is extracellular fluid, is the bicarbonate buffers. And we will describe the bicarbonate buffers just a bit in details, because based on this equation, you know in case of strong acid, pH will be the negative logarithm of the hydrogen concentration, I have mentioned. But in the case of buffer, in the case of weak acid, in the case of weak base, the equation is different, and that equation is known as Henderson-Hasselbalch equation. So, Henderson-Hasselbalch equation of this buffer will be Henderson-Hasselbalch equation of this buffer will be pH is equal to pK, that means ionization constant, the negative logarithm of the ionization constant, and log of bicarbonate, that is salt, and acid being carbonic acid. This is the very important equation in terms of bicarbonate buffer, and based on this equation we will derive 4 types of the disturbances. I have already mentioned and I will describe in my next class. Coming. 4 types of the acid-base disturbance are solely dependent on this equation. Remember, next class I will describe the 4 types of the acid-base disturbance which is mainly dependent on this equation, and I will describe this equation how pH is 7.4. The normal pH of the blood I have described, it is 7.4. When you are told to mention the range is 7.35 to 7.45. That is 7.4 plus minus 0.05. Very close range in case of blood, but range is wide in case of urine. In urine the range is very wide, but in case of blood it is very close, more or less 7.4, and that is necessary. And that is necessary for various biological functions, particularly of the proteins and DNA. Now, in this case, equation that is equal to pK is a constant for each vapor. For each vapor, whatever may be the concentration of these two, the pK is constant, and that is in case of bicarbonate buffer it is 6.1. pH is equal to 6.1, and the ratio bicarbonate concentration of the bicarbonate ion, it is in the range of 22 to 28 millimole per liter, and on average it is 24 millimole per liter. Okay, and this concentration of the carbonic acid is the 1.2 millimole per liter. So, what is the ratio? Ratio will be that 24 by 1.2, that is 20. (6.1) plus log of 20, and log of 20 means you calculate the log of 20 from logarithmic table, that is 1.3. So 6.1 plus 1.3 is equal to 7.4, the normal pH of the blood. Normal pH of blood. So long the ratio is 20, pH of the blood will be 7.4, that is normal pH. So, for any deviation of this ratio, if the ratio is deviated from 20, if the ratio is less than 20, pH will be the less than 7.4. If the ratio is higher than 20, then pH will be higher than 7.4. So, any alteration of the pH, this ratio, either by alteration of the bicarbonate or by alteration of the carbonic acid or by both, ratio will be altered and the pH will be altered. And based on this equation, acid base disturbance develops. Now, we cannot measure the carbonic acid. We can measure the partial pressure of the carbon dioxide. So, equation is pK plus log of slight modified equation. It is bicarbonate. It is the dissolved carbon dioxide. It is the dissolved carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide by dissolve. So, dissolved carbon dioxide is equal to PCO2 partial pressure of the carbon dioxide, which is in normal cases 40 milligram 40 millimeter of mercury into 0.03 is a constant, that is solubility constant. Solubility constant of the carbon dioxide. So, 40 into 0.03 is equal to 1.2. So, it is described also in this form 0.03. So, 0.03 into 40 কি হবে 1.2 as I have mentioned. We cannot measure the concentration of the carbon dioxide directly, but we can measure partial pressure of the carbon dioxide. So, any alteration of the bicarbonate, any alteration of the PCO2 will alter the pH. From this equation, pH, this is constant and these are variable. Variable are two, one is bicarbonate, one is PCO2. So, these two variables can vary, and when it varies from normal, the ratio becomes abnormal, pH becomes abnormal. This is about the bicarbonate, and bicarbonate is the principal buffer, and the concentration of the bicarbonate is very much necessary. Concentration of the bicarbonate is very much necessary to counter acid load of our body. Our body is continuously or constantly exposed to acids which are produced by metabolism, and this acid load is countered first by bicarbonate buffer, and it is the amount of the bicarbonate buffer which is known as alkali reserve. So, what is alkali reserve? Alkali reserve is the amount of the bicarbonate which counteracts acid load of our body, and that is 22 to 28 millimole per liter. Here all units are millimole per liter except PCO2, which is millimeter of mercury. Pressure is unit is millimeter of mercury, and analyte concentration is the unit is the millimole per liter, not milligram per dl, millimole per liter. So, this equation, from this equation we can see prominently that pH is equal to 7.4 in normal cases, provided this ratio is 20. Any alteration of this ratio? Is the root cause of acid base disturbance. Now, phosphate buffer. These two buffer are the important, and phosphate buffer, in case of phosphate buffer, two component. Phosphate buffer present is mainly in the kidney. Later on, you see the how phosphate buffer helps to maintain pH. Phosphate buffer দুটো থাকবে, একটা হচ্ছে গিয়ে সল্ট কম্পোনেন্ট একটা হচ্ছে বেস কম্পোনেন্ট বেসিক সল্ট, একটা হচ্ছে অ্যাসিডিক সল্ট। বেসিক সল্ট হচ্ছে Na2HPO4, এটা বেসিক কম্পোনেন্ট। আর একটা অ্যাসিডিক কম্পোনেন্ট হবে, এখানে এইচ এর পরিমাণ বেশি থাকবে, এন এর পরিমাণ কম থাকবে, NaH2PO4। এটা হচ্ছে অ্যাসিডিক কম্পোনেন্ট অফ phosphate buffer. This is the basic component of the phosphate buffer. The basic component reacts with hydrogen ion and is converted to this acidic component and excreted through the urine. Basic component reacts with hydrogen ion to form this. So in this case, what will be the pH? pH will be pK plus log. In the first class, I have derived this Henderson-Hasselbalch equation, you know, and it will be pH will be salt component or as base component, that is Na2HPO4 and the acid component is the NaH2. When H is more, it is acidic. When Na is more in number than H, it is basic. In this case, pK is constant, not 6.1, it is 6.8. It depends upon the buffer. pK is constant and depends on the buffer. Here it is 6.8. In case of bicarbonate buffer, it is 6.1. Here ratio is not 20, but 4. And you see, log of 4 is the 6.8, log of 4 from the logarithmic table is the 0.6. So this summation will be 7.4, normal pH of the blood, normal pH of the blood. So in this way, pH is normal or tends to become normal with the help of these buffers. These two buffers description. Now, after this, I will describe the regulation of the blood pH, how it regulates. The regulation of the blood pH. What is the mechanism by which the pH of the blood is maintained in the range of 7.35 to 7.45 and on average 7.4. There are three layers of regulation or 3 lines of defense. First line of defense is the by buffers. Buffers, as mentioned by buffers, it is the immediate action. প্রথমে ঝাঁপিয়ে পড়ে বাফার, ইমিডিয়েট অ্যাকশন। and it is the first line of defense. First line of defense is the buffers, and mainly bicarbonate buffer. So what happens bicarbonate buffers? When there is acid load, what will happen? The acid will react with salt component, that is bicarbonate. Acid will react with bicarbonate, that is NaHCO3. Bicarbonate is present mainly in the form of NaHCO3 and to some extent also potassium salt, KHCO3, but mainly it is present in the form of NaHCO3, sodium salt. So what will happen? NaCl plus H2CO3. So ki holo? This is a strong acid, this is a weak acid. A strong acid is converted to weak acid. That is, pH change is minimized, change of pH is minimized because strong acid is converted to weak acid by reaction with the salt component. And what happens when alkali load? And this will react with acid component. What is acid component? H2CO3. What will be the reaction? NaHCO3 plus H2O. A strong base is converted to weak base. Strong base is converted to weak base, thereby changing the pH, resisting the change of pH. So, first line of the buffers is done by the bicarbonate buffers. It is an immediate action, but this action is not sufficient to maintain acid-base balance. This action is mild, this action is temporary, but it is first line of defense. Immediately it occurs. Second line of the defense is done by lungs, and third line of the defense and ultimate defense and strong defense is done by or exerted by kidney. There are two organs, one is lung, one is kidney, which are responsible mainly to maintain acid-base balance, to maintain pH blood or pH of the blood within normal range. Second line of defense or respiratory regulation or by lungs, which is called respiratory regulation. It is also called second line of defense. Second line of defense is done by lung, that is known as respiratory regulation. How? Lungs helps to maintain pH. Or respiratory regulation, regulation by buffers, respiratory regulation and regulation of the kidney. A tinte regulation you have to mention and you have to write. And what happens when in case of acidosis? Acidosis means pH is the decreased. when pH is decreased than normal range, a center in the respiratory that is present in the medulla. In medulla of the brain, there is a respiratory center which is stimulated. In decreased pH, medulla is stimulated or respiratory center is stimulated. The respiratory center present in the medulla oblongata is stimulated. And stimulation means rate and depth of the respiration will be increased. Rate and depth of the respiration will be increased, what is known as hyperventilation. তাহলে প্রচুর পরিমাণে নিঃশ্বাস প্রশ্বাস নেবে, what is known as medically hyperventilation. And what is the effect of the hyperventilation? Effect of the hyperventilation is to elimination of the carbon dioxide. Effect of the hyperventilation is the increased elimination of carbon dioxide. That means increased elimination of carbon dioxide. তাহলে কি হবে? কার্বন ডাইঅক্সাইড কনসেন্ট্রেশনটা কমে যাবে। কার্বন ডাইঅক্সাইড if it is washed off, concentration of the carbon dioxide will be decreased, that is PCO2 will be decreased. PCO2 will be decreased. From that ratio, you think if the PCO2 is decreased, pH will be raised. pH will be raised, so pH becomes low, low pH, and low pH becomes normal pH or towards normal pH, not normal, but pH will be towards normal. That is, ratio will be normalization of the ratio. It means normalization of the ratio. Normalization of the ratio মানে আমি কোন রেশিও বলছি সেটা বুঝতেই পারছো। That is bicarbonate by carbonic acid. Normalization of the ratio and pH. এইভাবে pHটা হেল্প করছে লাংস by increasing rate and depth of the respiration. What happens in acid load or acidosis? তাহলে acidosis এ pH কমবে. First of all, pH will be decreased, and then stimulation of the respiratory center, then elimination of the bicarbonate, carbonic acid. No, I am sorry. Yes, carbonic acid or in the form of CO2. That means PCO2 will be lowered, and if the PCO2 will be lowered, pH will be raised. The low pH becomes normal pH. And exactly opposite events occur in the alkalosis. Exactly opposite events occur in the alkalosis. কি হবে? pH will be high. pH will be high. Respiratory center কি হবে? Stimulated হবে না, will be depressed. হাইপোভেন্টিলেশন হবে না, উল্টোটা হবে হাইপোভেন্টিলেশন। তাহলে এলিমিনেশন অফ কার্বন ডাইঅক্সাইড হবে না, কমে যাবে। PCO2 বেড়ে যাবে। PCO2 বেড়ে যাবে। তাহলে PCO2 যদি বেড়ে যায়, pHটা তো কমে যাবে। Think of ratio. Think of ratio. Think of the equation of the bicarbonate buffer. Ratio PCO2 যদি বেড়ে যায়, পিএইচ বেড়ে তাহলে PCA2 যদি বেড়ে যায় রেশিওটা টুয়ার্ডস 20 হবে, দ্যাট ইজ টুয়ার্ডস পিএইচ 7.4 হবে। In this way, by acidosis and alkalosis, by stimulation and depression of the respiration, and by hyperventilation or hypoventilation, pH tends to become normal. pH normal হয়তো হবে না, হওয়া সম্ভবও নয় by lungs, কিন্তু lungs tries to normalize pH in acid base disturbance, that is acidosis or alkalosis. But action of the lung or respiratory action starts not immediately but 1 hour or 2 hours after the development of acid base disorder. Buffers acts immediately. Respiratory regulation occurs 1 to 2 hours after the development of disturbance, but it is also not permanent, it is also not strong. Final regulation will be done by an ultimate regulation, and last line of defense will be exerted by kidneys. Final defense, final line or ultimate regulation হচ্ছে by kidneys. Kidneys are a very important organ to maintain acid base disturbance. Very important organ to maintain acid base disturbance. Any failure of the kidney will alter the acid base balance. How kidney helps to maintain acid base balance? Final regulation is by kidney. First line হচ্ছে কি buffers, second line lungs, third line kidney. Ultimate regulation kidney. কি করে, how kidney কি করে করে? কিডনির কি ফাংশন? কিডনি হচ্ছে secretion of the hydrogen ion. Is the very important function of the kidney. That is tubular secretion of the hydrogen ion. Secretion of the hydrogen ion and reabsorption of the bicarbonate. You know the bicarbonate, which is very important to maintain acid base balance, but bicarbonate during circulation, bicarbonate appears in the glomerular filtrate. Kidney তো ফিল্টার করে, তাহলে bicarbonate যখন সমস্ত bicarbonate কিন্তু as present in the blood appears in the glomerular filtrate. All bicarbonate in the plasma appears in the glomerular filtrate, and from glomerular filtrate it goes to the tubules, and from the tubules it may pass through the urine. So all the bicarbonate may be lost in this way, but this does not occur. There is a mechanism by which bicarbonate is again reabsorbed in the blood. Bicarbonate is reabsorbed in the blood, and hydrogen ion secretion and bicarbonate reabsorptions occur simultaneously, like oxidation and reduction. When there is excretion of the hydrogen ion, there is absorption of the bicarbonate ion. How this occurs? And in the secretion of the bicarbonate and reabsorption of bicarbonate. Bicarbonate কতটা আছে গ্লোমেরুলার ফিল্ট্রেটে ডেইলি bicarbonate filtrate আছে amount of bicarbonate appearing in the glomerular filtrate daily is a 41500 milli equivalent. I am describing in quantity, not the concentration. So, when there is a quantity, unit will be the milliequivalent. When there is a concentration, unit will be milliequivalent per liter. So, it is the amount of the bicarbonate প্রত্যেক দিন এই বাইকার্বনেট কিন্তু আসছে daily this amount of the bicarbonate is appearing in the glomerular filtrate, and it may be lost unless there is a mechanism of absorption, reabsorption. Reabsorption means when a tubules to blood, and absorption means intestine to blood. Intestine to blood is the absorption, and tubules to blood is the reabsorption. Remember, so how bicarbonate that is appearing in the glomerular filtrate or the tubules goes to the blood? There are three components. You know the tubular cell, that is renal tubular cell, one component. এখানে টিবুলার সেল থাকবে অনেকগুলো টিবুলার সেল থাকবে, and by the side of the tubular cell, one side will be the lumen, tubular lumen. Have you read the structure of the kidney in the anatomy? Tubules, glomerulus, all this structure, is it familiar to you? Anyway, tubular cell and tubular lumen, and here is the plasma or blood. Three components. Bicarbonate will appear in the glomerular filtrate to tubular lumen. Bicarbonate will appear from glomerular tubule to, that means sodium bicarbonate. This bicarbonate impermeable to this membrane. So bicarbonate first will come to cell, then to plasma, but it is impermeable this membrane. This membrane, this border is known as brass border or luminal border, and this border is called basolateral border. Towards blood, the border is known as basolateral border, and towards lumen it is known as brass border or tubular border. তাহলে টিবুলার বর্ডারে যে মেমব্রেনটা আছে, the membrane present in the tubular border is impermeable to bicarbonate. যেতে পারবে না. Then how it will go? It will go by a mechanism, and that is helped by an enzyme which is called carbonic anhydrase. The enzyme carbonic anhydrase helps. কিভাবে হেল্প করে? Sodium can go, and in exchange of the sodium, hydrogen will come. It is called secretion of the hydrogen ion. Secretion means tubules to lumen, and lumen to tubule and to blood is the reabsorption. And this one will act to form carbonic acid. Carbonic acid again dissociate to carbon dioxide and water by the enzyme carbonic anhydrase. The zinc containing enzyme carbonic anhydrase দুটো রিয়াকশনই করে, this reaction and forward reaction and backward reaction, these two reactions are performed by the enzyme carbonic anhydrase, and this carbon dioxide appear here. This will combine with water, again by the same enzyme, H2CO3. This is dissociated to hydrogen ion and bicarbonate ion. Sodium ion, bicarbonate ion, again easily this is permeable to bicarbonate, this is not permeable to bicarbonate. Remember, this is not permeable to bicarbonate, this is permeable to bicarbonate. So sodium bicarbonate appears in the plasma. Sodium bicarbonate, which is present in the lumen, appears in the plasma by this mechanism, and this is called a reabsorption of the bicarbonate. Reabsorption of the bicarbonate is a very vital function of the kidney to counteract acid base load, particularly acid load. তাহলে reabsorption of the bicarbonate by, and this is known as hydrogen ion secretion, and there is a protein, transporter protein known as sodium hydrogen exchange in this border. Sodium hydrogen exchange, sodium goes to this side, hydrogen ion from cell to lumen, that is known as hydrogen ion secretion. This phenomena is known as hydrogen ion secretion. So hydrogen ion secretion and reabsorption of the bicarbonate occurs simultaneously. Secretion of the hydrogen ion and reabsorption of the bicarbonate occurs simultaneously. একটা ঘটনা ঘটে বলে আর একটা ঘটনা ঘটছে। তাহলে this is called reabsorption of the bicarbonate or reclamation of the bicarbonate. What is the reclamation or reabsorption of the bicarbonate? This is কোন একটা symport একটা আছে, symport বলা হয়, that symport সোডিয়াম বাইকার্বনেট দুটো কি পাস করে। এখানে যে প্রোটিন আছে দ্যাট ইজ সোডিয়াম হাইড্রোজেন এক্সচেঞ্জ, that is by exchange of the hydrogen ion sodium enters. By exchange of the hydrogen ion sodium is entering. তাহলে লস হলো না? তাহলে এই বাইকার্বনেট এটা তো লস হতে পারতো, ইউরিন দিয়ে চলে যেতে পারতো, কিন্তু যাবে না। It will not lost in urine, it will again come to the blood. That is called reabsorption of the bicarbonate or reclamation of the bicarbonate ion, which is the very important functions of the kidney, and this function occurs mainly in the proximal tubule. Reclamation of the bicarbonate. তাহলে প্রতিদিন 4500 মিলিমোল পার অ্যামাউন্ট বাইকার্বনেট যেটা গ্লোমেরুলার ফিল্ট্রেটে আসে, that is not lost in the urine, that is again claimed by the blood, so the name reclamation. Here also তাহলে এটা হবে না, ইউরিন দিয়ে যাবে না, it will not pass through the urine, it will come to the blood by this mechanism known as reabsorption or reclamation of the bicarbonate ion. কিন্তু তাহলে কি বাইকার্বনেট কি ইউরিনে আসবে না? Can bicarbonate appear in the urine? Yes, it can appear in the urine. When the level of the bicarbonate exceeds the normal level, that is 30 milli equivalent or 30 millimole per liter. Jodi bicarbonate concentration 30 millimole per liter hoy, in that case all the bicarbonate will be reabsorbed. Some bicarbonate will appear in the urine. And that occurs in the alkalosis. In acidosis, no bicarbonate in the urine, but in alkalosis, you can find bicarbonate in the urine. When bicarbonate appears in the urine, pH of the urine will be towards alkaline side. But normally, pH of the urine is towards acidic side. Normal pH of the urine 6.0. Normal pH of the urine is 6.0 in the mixed diet. When we take protein diet in excessive amount, urine will be acidic. When we take vegetarian diet, plenty, urine will be alkaline. Now, what is the role of the phosphate buffer? Again, tubular cell, lumen, plasma. Hydrogen ion is produced in our body constantly. There are two types of the acid. One is the fixed acid, one is the volatile acid. Volatile acid means carbonic acid. খুব প্রচুর পরিমাণে কার্বনিক অ্যাসিড তৈরি হয় বাই রেসপিরেশন। আর ফিক্সড অ্যাসিড, আমি একটু বলে নিই অ্যাসিডসটা। অ্যাসিডস ইন আওয়ার বডি, একটা হচ্ছে ফিক্সড, একটা হচ্ছে ভোলাটাইল, একটা হচ্ছে ফিক্সড। ফিক্সড ভোলাটাইলের পরিমাণ প্রায় অনেক বেশি, 20,000 millimole, because it is formed by carbon dioxide. It is formed by the carbon dioxide, and fixed acid is the sulfuric acid, very few. এর পরিমাণ প্রায় 60 to 80 milli equivalent or millimole, whatever you call. It is in the form of H2SO4, H3PO4, phosphate. Both sulfate and phosphate are coming from the protein, sulfoprotein and nucleoprotein or phosphoprotein. On metabolism gives rise to H2SO4 and H3PO4, a very little amount. Also there are but weak acids are produced in enormous amount. What are those weak acids? Weak acids is the pyruvic acid, weak acid is the lactic acid, weak acid is the citric acid, succinic acid, alpha-ketoglutarate acid, uric acid. All are the weak acids present in plenty in our body, and that must be counteracted. And how it counteracts? It is fixed acids. It is a very fixed acid, requires kidney to eliminate. Volatile acids requires lung to eliminate. Volatile acids require lung to eliminate, and fixed acids require kidney to eliminate. And what happens in the phosphate buffer? Proximal tubule say 90% of the bicarbonate is reabsorbed, and remaining 10% is absorbed throughout the other parts of the tubule. 90% of the bicarbonate is reabsorbed through proximal tubules, and remaining 10% is reabsorbed through other parts of the tubules, that is distal tubule, loop of the Henle, collecting ducts, etc. Now, hydrogen ion secretion. There are one fate of the secretion of the hydrogen ion is the reabsorption of the bicarbonate. Second fate of the hydrogen ion or secreted hydrogen ion is the formation of the basic phosphate from the acidic phosphate. যেমন বাইকার্বনেট আসছে তেমনি Na2HPO4 Na2HPO4 that is basic component of the phosphate buffer, basic component of the phosphate buffer, that is it can be basic component of the phosphate buffer. Again, sodium ion will come in exchange of hydrogen ion. It is hydrogen ion secretion, fixed acid এইভাবে secretion হচ্ছে. It occurs in the distal tubule. This equation, this part of the description occurs in the mainly in the distal tubule. First part আমি যেটা লিখেছিলাম আগে bicarbonate buffer, this occurs in proximal tubules. Distal tubule hydrogen ion secretion হচ্ছে, that hydrogen ion secretion react with the, it will form H2PO4 1 negative. This will react with this sodium. NaH2PO4. তাহলে দেখো NaH2PO4 ছিল কি Na2HPO4. This is the basic component, this is the acidic component. এটার স্যাচুরেটেড pH হবে, যদি স্যাচুরেটেড সলিউশন করো, স্যাচুরেটেড সলিউশনের pH হচ্ছে 8.0 অ্যালকালাইন। এটার যদি pH মাপো, it will be the 5.0 acidic, 8.0 5.0, এবং this is excreted through urine. এটা ইউরিন দিয়ে চলে যায়। Urine is acidic mainly due to this component. Urine is acidic mainly due to this component. তাহলে ফসফেট বাফার এখানে হেল্প করলো এবং হাইড্রোজেন আয়ন আসবে, এখানে হাইড্রোজেন আয়ন এক্সচেঞ্জ থাকবে, সোডিয়াম হাইড্রোজেন এক্সচেঞ্জ থাকবে, and this hydrogen ion will come again কার্বনিক অ্যাসিড থেকে আসবে, CO2 plus H2O, এবং again sodium and bicarbonate will appear in the blood. So for each hydrogen ion secretion, one sodium, one bicarbonate appears in the plasma. Now, there are third fate of the hydrogen ion. So, first fate of hydrogen ion secretion is the reabsorption of the bicarbonate. Second fate is the formation of the acidic buffer, acidic component of the phosphate buffer. And third fate of the secreted hydrogen ion. Third fate of the secreted hydrogen ion is the formation of ammonia, ammonium salt. তাহলে তিনটে ফেট হাইড্রোজেন আয়ন সিক্রেশনের। প্রিন্সিপাল কাজ হচ্ছে কি কিডনির টু সিক্রিট হাইড্রোজেন আয়ন ফ্রম থ্রু আউট দ্য টিবিউলস, প্রক্সিমাল টিবিউল, ডিস্টাল টিবিউল, কালেক্টিং ডাক্ট, সবগুলো টিবিউলের যতগুলো পোর্শন আছে, এভরি পার্টস অফ দ্য টিবিউলস সিক্রিটস হাইড্রোজেন আয়ন, অ্যান্ড দিস হাইড্রোজেন আয়ন ইজ প্রডিউসড by acid load, and acid load is produced by two components, fixed and volatile. It is the fixed portion is secreted through the kidney, and volatile portion is eliminated through lung. Then what happens in the glutamine? Well, you have already heard the name of an amino acid, glutamine. From the glutamine we can have ammonia. From the glutamine we can have ammonia, and it is converted to glutamate by deamination. Glutamate. Both glutamine and glutamate are the amino acids out of 20 amino acids. 20টা অ্যামাইনো অ্যাসিডের মধ্যে কিন্তু গ্লুটামিন এবং গ্লুটামেট আছে। You have not read or you have read, whatever you know. I don't know because you cannot tell in the viva the 20 amino acids. The glutamine by the enzyme glutaminase is an enzyme which produces ammonia. It is ammonia. This is come to the tubule and reacts with the secreted hydrogen ion. Secreted hydrogen ion. This is hydrogen ion secretion. Formation of the ammonium. And this ammonium is excreted through urine by the in the form of ammonium chloride. বেরিয়ে যাচ্ছে, তাহলে হাইড্রোজেন আয়ন যেটা বডিতে তৈরি হচ্ছে সেটা অ্যামোনিয়ার সঙ্গে রিঅ্যাক্ট করছে, কামিং ফ্রম গ্লুটামিন by the glutaminase. Ammonia is a gas. It crosses this barrier, this border, comes in the lumen, reacts with secreted hydrogen ion, form ammonium and excreted through urine. Okay? In this way, hydrogen ion is excreted through the urine. তাহলে by these three mechanisms or three description, kidney helps to maintain pH of the blood. তাহলে ফার্স্ট লাইন বলেছি বাই বাফার্স, সেকেন্ড লাইন হচ্ছে লাংস by hypo or hyperventilation, third line by kidney by secretion of the hydrogen ion and reabsorption of the bicarbonate. Okay? By this mechanism, acid pH of the blood is regulated at the pH level 7.35 to 7.45.